All right, so get this. We've got this Louisiana congressman, total Trump guy, and he posts this crazy message about Haitian migrants, like seriously unhinged stuff, and then poof, gone, deleted, vanished into the social media void. So what kind of verbal landmine was so bad it needed to disappear that fast?
Well, that's what we're diving into today, the whole messy story.
Yeah, it's wild, right? Like, we're not talking about some random Twitter troll here. This is a congressman, someone with real power, putting this stuff out there. And the things he said, not pretty.
So give it to us straight. What exactly did Congressman Higgins say that caused this firestorm?
Well, Higgins called these migrants thugs, for one, and said Haiti was the nastiest country in the Western Hemisphere. But the real, I don't know, cherry on top, he claimed they were eating pets.
Hold on, eating pets, that rings a bell. Definitely not a good bell. Right. This wasn't even an original thought. Remember a while back, Trump went on this whole rant about Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio, making the same accusations, no less.
Oh, man, yeah, Springfield. That whole thing got really ugly really fast.
Total meltdown. Trump basically said, with zero proof, by the way, that these migrants were eating the dogs and eating the cats. Pure fiction. But those words coming from him, huge impact.
Schools shut down, businesses boarded up. They even had bomb threats, right?
Absolutely. The Ohio governor had to personally step in and basically say, nope, Trump's full of it. This is garbage. Total chaos, all from one made-up accusation.
Wild how fast things spiral. So we've got Higgins basically copying a debunked conspiracy theory. What was the reaction like?
Oh, the internet basically exploded. People were calling him out for everything, racism, xenophobia, the works. And it wasn't just online outrage either.
Don't tell me Congress actually, did something for once.
Kinda, sorta.
Yeah.
Democrats were furious, obviously, and tried to censure Higgins, officially reprimand him.
Right.
Republicans, though, shut it down. Still, the fact that it even got that far says something.
Wow, a censure attempt, accusations of racism, all because of a social media meltdown. There was even talk of lawsuits, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah, and this is where it gets really interesting. You remember the Haitian migrants in Springfield I mentioned?
Right, the ones Trump was.
Yeah, them. They've got this lawyer, Subodh Chandra, and he is not letting this go at all.
Okay, now I'm really interested. What's Chandra doing?
So he represents the Haitian Bridge Alliance, and they'd already filed criminal charges against Trump and J.D. Vance for their part in spreading that mess back then.
Whoa, criminal charges. What are we talking? What kind of charges?
The serious kind. We're talking disrupting public service, making false claims, aggravated menacing, even inducing panic. Chandra's arguing that words have consequences, especially when they incite fear and violence.
Okay, that's a whole other can of worms. So just to be clear, these charges are from the Springfield thing, right? Is Higgins in any legal hot water for basically repeating the accusations?
So far, no direct legal action against Higgins for this post, but Chandra's made it very clear that he sees Higgins' words as just straight-up racism and hasn't ruled anything out. He's definitely on Higgins' radar now.
I bet. Now, you mentioned earlier that there's another layer to this, something about a House investigation. What's that all about?
Right. So on top of all this social media drama, there's something else about Congressman Higgins you should know. He's actually part of the House task force investigating that whole attempted assassination of former President Trump back in July.
Whoa, okay. So you're saying we have a congressman with a history of making incendiary statements who's now involved in a high-stakes investigation that's already a political powder keg.
Exactly.
What could possibly go wrong?
$1 million question right there.
All right, so just to recap, we've got a congressman known for stirring the pot, a history of dangerous misinformation, and now this whole social media explosion. This feels like, I don't know, more than just one politician's bad judgment, right?
Yeah, you're definitely picking up what we're putting down here. This whole thing really exposes some of the, shall we say, uglier sides of our current political climate.
So we're talking about a congressman already on thin ice, right in the middle of this super sensitive investigation, and then bam, drops this nuclear social media post. You said it yourself. This feels like a symptom of a much bigger problem. What's the diagnosis, Doc?
It's like we're allergic to nuance these days. Higgins's post, the Springfield thing, it all points to this trend where facts don't matter as much as whatever story gets the most attention, the most buzz.
Okay, so misinformation's spreading like wildfire, especially online. But it's more than that, right? It feels like people actually like this kind of crazy stuff. It's like they're drawn to it.
It's true, like moths to a flame, right? Our brains are wired to pay attention to things that are shocking or unusual, that stand out. And politicians have figured that out. how to use it.
So guys like Higgins, they know what they're doing. They throw out these inflammatory statements because they know people will get riled up, even if it's totally made up.
Yep, it's a calculated risk for
Hmm.
sure. They might get some blowback, but they also know it'll get their base fired up and get their name in the headlines. Dangerous game, but
Yeah.
seems to be working.
And the people who already agree with him, who already believe the worst about these migrants, it just makes it worse, right?
100%. It
Yeah.
just reinforces what they already think and
Yeah.
makes them even more distrustful of anyone who disagrees. This self-perpetuating cycle of outrage.
It's exhausting. So what can we even do? How do we even talk about this stuff rationally when we can't agree on basic facts?
It's tough, I won't lie. But I think it starts with being careful about the information we consume ourselves. We need to think critically, you know, question what we see and hear, especially online.
That's good advice, but easier said than done, don't you think? It's not like everyone has the time to fact check every single thing they see online.
True, for sure. But even small changes can make a difference. Think about your sources. Are they known for being reliable? Are they presenting a balanced view? If you're only getting your news from places that confirm what you already think, it might be time to expand your horizons a bit.
So basically, diversify your media diet, be open to different views, good advice in general, really. But what about the immediate consequences of this Higgins mess? This all happened just weeks before the election, which adds another layer to all this, don't you think?
Absolutely. This has October surprise written all over it.
So what do you think? Will this hurt Higgins' chances of getting reelected? Or could this actually help him?
Honestly, it's a coin toss.
Yeah.
Some voters might be turned off by what he said, to see it as, unpresidential, divisive. But let's be real, there's a good chance it'll fire up his base.
Yeah, they might see this whole thing as a good thing, proof that he's not afraid to tell it like it is, even if it means saying inflammatory things and spreading misinformation.
Which is kind of the problem, isn't it? It's a sad state of affairs when those tactics are rewarded. But here we are. This whole situation just shows how divided our country really is.
Like everyone's on their own team, getting more and more set in their ways.
Exactly. It's like we've forgotten how to just talk to each other, disagree, without attacking or spreading misinformation.
It's discouraging, really. If this is what counts for political conversation now, like we can't even agree on basic facts and it's all about spreading misinformation to get ahead, what hope is there for any kind of real change?
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's easy to go down that rabbit hole of despair.
Yeah.
But I do think, we got to remind ourselves that we're not total powerless here. We have voices. We have a choice in how we use them.
I get that, but it's tough, right? Sometimes it feels like, what can one person actually do in the middle of all this?
It starts small. It really does. It's about what we choose to read,
Mm.
to share.
Mm.
Like every time you share a well-researched article instead of some clickbait headline, that's a win.
Right, being thoughtful about the information we're putting out into the world and calling out BS when we see it, even if it's coming from someone we usually agree with.
Exactly. Having those hard conversations, checking our own biases, accepting that we might be wrong sometimes, that's huge.
It's like having each other's backs even when we don't see eye to eye. And maybe, just maybe, if enough of us do that, things can start to change.
Yeah, you're talking. Recognizing we're all in this together. We might have different views, different backgrounds, different beliefs, but at the end of the day, we want the same thing, right? A better future.
Well said. So, to bring it back to today's deep dive, we covered a lot. Deleted social media, a controversial congressman, this whole election season, accusations of racism, even criminal charges. If there's just one thing our listeners take away from all this, what would it be? What's the biggest takeaway?
This whole thing really shows you the power of words and how dangerous they can be. Social media makes it way too easy for bad information to go viral, especially when it comes from people in positions of power. So yeah, be careful out there. Don't just believe everything you read online. Do your own research, ask questions, and think before you share.
It's about taking responsibility for the information we all play a part in spreading, and remembering that words have real consequences online and off.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, on that note, we'll leave you with something to think about in this world where we're bombarded with information constantly. How can we all be smarter about what we consume and more responsible about what we share? This has been The Deep Dive. Until next time, stay curious, keep asking questions, and remember, your words have power.